This is the Criterion Creeps podcast, and tonight we're talking about Knife in the Water from 1962, directed by Roman Polanski, and we're joined by co-creep regular Frank Solano. Hi, Frank.
What's up? You could call me a full. I'm a host now, right? Right?
Well, we're all co in the life of podcastum, I guess.
We're all friends in the
and
I
haven't even mentioned this on the show yet. Is that Frank is also the supplier of our very fancy intro and outro graphic on our YouTube episodes as of 3 episodes ago.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I remember that.
Jarrett didn't even tell me. I just went on one day to like the episodes because I always do, because I like the content we create, and why shouldn't I like it? So I went on there to like one of the episodes, and I was like, whoa, what's this stuff? And Jarrett's like, oh yeah, it was Frank Santoro. It's an inside joke to people who only listen to the YouTubes. And he's like, he's a big ride boy, and he made us a big ride intro. And I was like, I like it.
Damn right.
I like it a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was thinking 80s distribution. What's it called? Distribution logos on like
yeah
VHS tapes. That was the idea.
I think you nailed it.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Thank you.
But let's find out if Roman Polanski nailed it in this movie of his. So the synopsis from Letterboxd. Mm-hmm. On their way to an afternoon on the lake, husband and wife Andre and Christina nearly run over a young hitchhiker. Inviting the young man onto the boat with them, Andre begins to subtly torment him. The hitchhiker responds by making overtures toward Christina. When the hitchhiker is accidentally knocked overboard, the husband's panic results in unexpected consequences. This was the first feature directed by Roman Polanski.
Was it?
Sure, pal.
Okay, sorry, keep going.
So, I've seen this movie before. In fact, I do own this on DVD. It's one of those big, thick double cases that they used to make. And when I opened it up just this weekend, I saw that it has still my Barnes & Noble packing slip with what the other movies I bought, which included The Devil and Daniel Webster and Rules of the Game.
That's weird, no? Or did you do that intentionally?
That was in 2013. Or actually, no, late 2012.
So you just intentionally got Spine 214, 215, 216 just for the fuck of it?
Just for the fuck of it. And General Idi Amin Dada was also in that.
Nice. I think that was the real winner of that purchase.
That's right. So at the time, I was kind of on that, filling in gaps of my Criterion Collection. And, I mean, this is a pretty big contribution, I guess, to the Criterion Collection. It's the debut of Roman Polanski, a pretty well-regarded, well-known, infamous filmmaker.
Allegedly.
Who's directed at least, well, I think he's actually a bit more than that. He's directed, like, at least 2 all-time classic movies of mine, for me. Chinatown, Macbeth are incredible pieces of movie making. So Knife in the Water being his first, and you hear like kind of these overtures of Hitchcockness and Polanski's first stab at cinema, and you're like, oh, this is going to be good. This is going to be a good show. So my question, I guess, after watching this now for a second time, because I did watch this for the first time sometime in 2013, and I guess I liked it at the time. I rated it okay. I didn't love it, but I thought it was okay. But it feels like it had been a really long time since I'd seen it last. I thought it had been over 10 years because I didn't really remember much about it. Just like broad strokes, a lot of stuff on a boat, and a man and his wife, and this like young guy, and kind of shots of foreground and background. Lots of foreground shots. And that was all I remembered. I couldn't remember anything else. I didn't know what the knife in the water meant. It was just gone. So I was watching this all over again, and yeah, I'm left wondering. It's like, what's this movie all about? Is this about metaphors? I don't know. Is that the plot of this ultimately?
I don't know.
I don't know. So we have this husband and wife. you don't really get to know them. They don't really play their hand until really late into the movie. It just seems like this guy's a dickhead, just in general, and his wife is just like kind of there to like kind of serve him. She really doesn't have a whole heck of a lot of personality for like the hour and 12 minutes until the knife in the water scene happens, and then the tension rackets up. And then then there's the hitchhiker, who is like, in some shots he looks so old. I don't know if it's like that. I don't know if he lived outside a lot and he's got that fair hair, and so he just looks like real old. But other times he looks like definitely youthful, like in comparison to Andre. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this movie at this point. There's the big struggle I have with this movie is it feels like it's going in two directions, of like one of being like very realistic and kind of grounded in this sort of domestic drama, but on the other side, but it doesn't want to go over the top with like like to being like a real over the top kind of cheesy thriller, but the whole movie is like premises like, why would you hang out with this hitchhiker that you just picked up? Like, just tell him to fuck off.
Jarrett, it's about male bonding. Haven't you seen Wild Hogs?
This is the opposite of male bonding.
Well, I mean, what about your common courtesy for men? Like, this guy's like, he's hitching, and you're a good Canadian boy. Would you ever pick up a hitcher?
Never.
What if they looked like Rutger Hauer?
Definitely not Rutger Hauer. Or Toby
Canadian icon.
Or Tobey Maguire in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Another Canadian icon. You can't question it. Interesting. I'm with you also because when I was watching this, I was kind of like, are they going to take this guy with them?
Well,
and then they did, and I was like, okay.
Right.
What's next?
So, okay. Why? Yeah.
I don't know. I was thinking kind of from the perspective of the hiker. Why did he choose to go with them?
That's a good point too.
Because he's bored, I guess. And
bored and home.
But he had somewhere to go.
Well, it sounded like but did he though? Because it sounded like he was going to wander around and wait till they got back so he could continue getting a ride with them. So I mean, I don't know. It's an awkward situation made more awkward by the husband, this Andre's guy, who I guess like wants to prove a point. That
it's a pissing contest, Jarrett.
It is a very extended pissing contest, I guess. But what's this movie about beyond that? So I guess not knowing anything about Poland in 1962 and where Roman Polanski's mind was at, I feel like there's like sort of, you could maybe draw this connection of like an older generation and their relationship with a younger generation, and how they're like basically just like laughing at them and fucking around with them and throwing them in the water, saying, "Oh, you can swim." Like it's like that antagonistic kind of patronizing, paternal relationship, I guess, a generation might be having with the previous generation. Yeah, but is that what this movie's going for? And if it is it successful?
I mean, it seems like it, right? Like all the things that they do towards it, where it's like, like the whole reason he brings him along, he's like, "You big idiot." He's like, "You don't know how to sail. You like hiking. Hiking's for dummies." He's like, "You're just a little kid who doesn't know how to sail." And then he's like, "Doesn't really look that hard." He's like, "Give it a try." And then it just whips around, and it's like, yeah, I'm sure there's more to it, but I think you're right, Jared. I think it is just an old guy making fun of a younger guy. And he's like, "Check out my pecs. Check them out." He flexes a lot.
Look at my lady's bod.
In more ways than one, too. It's not just all physical flexing. There's some mental flexing, too. He's playing fiddlesticks, and he's like, "Check it out. I'm good, and you're not."
Yeah, that scene with the fiddlesticks really kind of bummed me out, because we have such great board games now, and back then they just literally were throwing sticks on a table.
You can still get that game.
Oh, I know. It doesn't make it any better.
What did they call it in this? Haystacks or something?
I think so.
Stick something?
Sticks?
We call them fiddlesticks. Do you ever fiddle with your sticks over there, Frank? Or what board games do you like playing?
I try not to fiddle with my stick. Have you ever recommended for that here? So I don't know. I'm gonna go with Uno. I like Uno.
Okay, yeah, I think that's a fair call too. Probably better than Fiddlesticks.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so Jarrett, what were you talking about?
I was just wondering, like, I'm trying to figure out, I guess, like, what this movie's about, because it feels very much like a play. It's very stripped down. You only have 3 characters. I think there is no other characters, correct? You don't really even see anybody else. Like, they pull up on this road. Where the husband, he wants to like just drive down this hitchhiker who he does not want to pick up, and he keeps speeding toward him. He's like, "Who's going to brake?" And it's a game of chicken. And then he doesn't, but he doesn't brake. He veers off. He kind of embarrasses himself, and he's like, "Well, out of shame, all right, we'll keep picking him up." And so the whole relationship is just this kind of like one-upsmanship, cocksmanship. Just
the what?
Cocksmanship.
Okay, I just wanted to hear you repeat that. Keep going.
Cocksmanship. So anyway,
Big C.
C, the big C. Did you? I mean, I could hand it off to you guys because again, I'm trying to figure out how I feel about this movie now. Is this a tense movie? Did you feel the tension? Is this the best representation, I guess, of a movie that is attempting to like be, I don't know, present this relationship of people who are like almost at each other's throats, throwing knives around casually, and then at the end it kind of winds up being like this like log driver's waltz scene, and then the movie just kind of winds down and ends.
I don't know. What do you think, Frank? Do you want to take it away or what?
Yeah, let me give it a go. I don't know. Okay, I watched it over 2 nights, so it might do something about my review of the movie. Because honestly, this
is only a 94-minute long movie, and it took you 2 nights to watch it.
Says something.
And not because I was falling asleep either. It's just I don't know. I got the first night I watched I think around 26 minutes, and then the second night I finished the movie. I don't know. It was just a decision I made that I think might have consequences on how I feel about the movie now, looking back on it. Because honestly, the throughout the rest of the movie, I honestly didn't feel any tension at all. I just kind of I felt like it was kind of like lazing about these characters. Just being assholes to each other, and I don't know. I didn't even when the young guy got thrown into the water, I never felt. I think actually, probably the most tense part for me that I can recall is probably when the wind picks up and the sailboat gets kind of taken along, and the young guy's the only one on there, and he's trying to direct it because I wasn't sure whether he was trying to steal the boat or whether he was trying to get it back to them.
It's ambiguous, and it's like because like that point you're kind of like, well, that would be a kind of a scary situation. Like when you're out in the water, this guy's he's stealing your boat.
So I thought that was building up to something, but no, sadly no. Honestly, other than that, I wasn't really into this like macho game of who's more man than me, and that kind of test. I don't know. It just felt kind of dumb. But I mean, I guess in reality, it happens all the time. That's a real life situation, especially I think in families between brothers or between father-son relationships even. And so in a way, I guess sometimes like I could relate, like the thing about the game, the stick game, or even I don't know, the idea of like him getting pushed in the water despite him claiming he doesn't know how to swim, and the guy saying, "Yeah, you know how to swim. Don't lie, you know how to swim." Stuff like that is stuff that you see, as you're growing up. I can relate to it, but in a way, I never felt like it was really that close or even really that important. I don't know. With this movie, I think what I found is that it's not as interesting. It's kind of a blank, because at the end, reading the letterbox tag, it says there's consequences, but towards the end I don't feel like there really was, because you don't get to really know the characters all that much. You get to know what's presented in the movie and the time they're in, but other than that, There's no real stakes. I never felt like they always felt indifferent with each other. The husband and wife. So I never felt like there was anything really lost when the reveal that she had an affair with a guy, which isn't even shown on screen. So
Oh
I don't know. They could have spiced it up, and they didn't. Big
People
old
say we
Roman.
should spice up this podcast. Lots of sound bites, like with sound effects, like pin whistle or pull whistles, like woo, brum, 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 brum.
the podcast switchboard.
We could add some fart sounds.
Get a mariachi band. That's a good idea.
I have a sombrero. Should I pull that
Nice.
out?
That's a good start.
Frank, what did you think of the jazzy score?
Ooh.
That's okay. Talking about the movie made me forget about it, but that is probably my favorite part of the whole movie. Despite it feeling like it should be in Taxi Driver or even Chinatown. Seinfeld, yeah.
Yeah, I like the Seinfeld smooth jazz also. What about you, Jer?
Well,
Do you like that smooth jazz?
So the score of this movie was composed by Christoph Komeda, who also worked on Rosemary's Baby, Fearless Vampire Killers, Cool de Sac. But yeah, I mean, it's very much of its era. It seems like this seemed to be like this period of time. You'd have these black and white movies that were trying to be a bit more contemporary, and they would have that contemporary sound that only jazz can offer. But I just know that I was more. This is more of a thing because I know how RJ sometimes feels about the sound of jazz.
Hey, I like jazz. I just feel like a lot of people copy Seinfeld,
Right.
even if it happens 30 years before Seinfeld. I feel like they still copy it.
Right.
When did this movie come out?
62.
Yeah. See, I'm right. I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, no, I like jazz, and I actually think I think the jazz fits the tone of what they were trying to do with the movie, with like these people that are kind of like, doing things and you can't predict what's going to happen next. Much like jazz, Jarrett. Experimental jazz. You never know what's going to happen.
Just
Right?
like a podcast.
You never know what's going to happen next. Someone going to walk in that door behind me? Is Frank going to lose it? Who knows? We don't know.
I hope not.
You could. I wouldn't be mad at you, man. What else do you think, Frank? What else you got?
I should actually ask you, Frank, because you were talking about coming back on the show after it's been a while since you've last been on. So why was Knife in the Water your choice?
Good question.
Okay. That is a good question. The last 3 movies I've been on, In the Mood for Love, Royal Tenenbaums, and Band of Outsiders. So Band of Outsiders, I had said before that I wanted to kind of take a risk on one of these Criterion films, because In the Mood for Love, Royal Tenenbaums, I knew I loved, so it was kind of a cop-out. But then, so Band of Outsiders was kind of a chance, but I knew I liked a few Godard films, and even though I didn't especially love Band of Outsiders, I it's good enough. So Knife in the Water, I'd recently watched The Tenant, and I've seen The Pianist and I've seen Chinatown. I think in the last 2 years. So I was thinking, maybe I'll check this one out. The name of the title is pretty cool, Knife in the Water.
And the Criterion poster art is like awesome. I've always loved that graphic.
And then I like the idea of I like the beach. I like washing. I was gonna say ocean and water, and I said washing, so now it's washing. I like washing. And there's something about like that kind of movement of a boat. I like the idea of them, the characters being on a boat and all that. I found it interesting. I think recently I watched La Ventura. For anybody who's listening that has ever wanted to hear Michelangelo Antonioni's name said right, there you go.
I'm pretty sure I say it right all the time, man.
Antonini.
Antonioni. Right?
Yeah, so I'd recently watched La Ventura, and I think the most interesting thing because I had about the same reaction as you guys, but I think the first 40 minutes or so where they're on on the boat or they're swimming in the water. There's something about that black and white like ocean movement. Though I wasn't sure watching Knife in the Water whether they were actually in the ocean or if they were at a lake. It felt to me like they were at a lake.
They were at a lake, yeah.
But the guy kept talking about being a sailor in the ocean and the sea and all this stuff. So I was confused. Yeah. But I guess that's really what attracted me to Knife in the Water, other than also wanting to return to the podcast and maybe encouraging other fellow listeners to come back.
Yeah, you guys.
Or to give it a go. Give it a go.
You've always been a champion for the cause. Even if you don't like the podcast. You even better.
Give it a go.
Yeah. I would love for one of these people who leaves us negative comments all the time. You know what? If they don't even have to do a full Patreon thing, I'll give them 1 minute. 1 minute to come on and explain why we're wrong about a movie.
Wrong about La Ventura.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm opening this up, but I have absolutely zero control about this. So if you're interested, you can email Jarrett and ask him if that's gonna fly. Yep.
Yep. I was just like looking at my history of Polanski, and I see that like I don't know, he doesn't really get good until Rosemary's Baby, because even the one movie of his
too, by the way,
is Repulsion. People love Repulsion, and that is a movie that I think is actually just bad. But some people like it is their favorite. They absolutely like it works for them, but I think it's not good at all.
I think Repulsion's a little too on the nose, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's got a couple of good scenes, a couple of good shots, but yeah, I mean, and I love Catherine Deneuve, but oof. And Cul-de-sac's okay. Fearless Vampire Killers is just lame. That I don't know if either of you have seen that yet, but yeah, you don't need to. But yeah, Rosemary's Baby, Macbeth, Chinatown, The Tenant. The Tenant to me is kind of like closer to where I'd put Knife in the Water and Cul-de-sac, and then it's sort of after that kind of. I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of his 80s stuff at all. I tried watching Frantic, and that movie is real boring. But his movie Carnage, which is based on a play, I think that movie's great.
I don't remember liking that one very much, but that could just be me.
I don't know.
Do you know what I mean?
It probably is you.
It might be. Carnage? I think I'm more like the Tenant, if I had to describe who I was. Or maybe I'm the Ghost Rider.
Maybe you're the ghost. Maybe you are the Ghost Rider.
I could be the Ghost Rider. I wish, man. Could you imagine Roman Polanski's Ghost Rider?
I could imagine it. Yeah.
But I mean, then again, he was in Rush Hour 3. You ever see that?
Roman Polanski?
Yeah.
Oh.
As an actor.
Hey, how about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? Remember him in that?
No.
RJ, what did you think of Knife in the Water?
You know what I think? So Frank kind of touched on this too. Like he was talking about the build up to a thing. I don't know if the ending is like very well craftedly subtle, or when I was watching it, I was kind of just like, I feel like they goofed and there should have been more here, and they didn't build it up enough, because like there's all these things about. I really like the setup of kind of like what you said, Jarrett, where it's like people just in the water. Or I think Frank was saying like when it's just the hitchhiker in the boat. I like the ending where it's like they can't find him and you think he's dead. And then the husband goes out and then you see him swim back. And I was like, ooh, that's nice. That's good. Intense. I thought that's what we were in. Pulled up the page, I just saw like the first line of 9 reviews, like tense psychological thriller, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, no, it's really not selling this movie properly.
No, I don't think that's it at all. But I thought that at that point there was the potential for that, and I was like, yeah, they could do a ton of stuff here, and I actually like the way they go with it. I feel like they don't do enough with it. Like there's a little setup with the wife with the adultery, and like Frank said, it's off screen, and I think like leaving it ambiguous is fine. Like that doesn't bother me as much, but what comes afterwards when she's like, well, I cheated on you with him, and he's like, no, you didn't. Don't be dumb. He's like, stupid. Don't be dumb, you idiot. And then it's kind of like you're left with that thing where it's like, does he believe her or does she not? And I feel like that's what the movie's all coming to. And I think it's okay. It's there's something missing from it. Like, it doesn't hit as well as it should, I think. And that's all for me. I thought this movie was fine. I think you guys are
I'm not hearing a thing you're saying there, my friend.
nothing. Where did I cut out?
I think you guys.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think you guys are maybe a little bit more critical of it than I am, and I don't think it's like great or anything like that. I thought it was fine. I don't think it's great either, but I don't know. I feel like there's good setup to stuff, but then at the end of the day, it's kind of like, what really happened? Because some of the problems you guys said. First off, why would you take a hitchhiker with you? Second off, if you were a hitchhiker, why would you just go on the boat? I know he said he's like, can I come back tomorrow when the car's back? And they're like, well, I'll just come on the boat. And like, I know that's the setup to tons of movies and horrors, thrillers, whatever. Like The Hitcher with Rutger Hauer, where it's like, come on in, we'll trust you. But yeah, the movie is just a big pissing contest, and like you guys said too, it's kind of like siblings or like friends even that are like one-upping each other, and I get that, but I don't know, it's the stakes don't ever really seem there. It's kind of like, all right, 3 people hanging out playing fiddlesticks. You have this guy who's either 13 or 30, nobody knows, so let him do his thing. You know what I mean, Jer?
I'm hearing you.
You know what I mean? I was gonna say something else about the guy. Like, I don't know. He's just a miserable prick, hey?
Zygmunt Malonovich?
Yeah, and like the
Old guy.
The whole time you're just like, yeah, maybe you should be like, your wife should leave you. I don't know, probably, but
It's well deserved.
But I mean, I am with him at the start when he's driving, he sees that hitchhiker, and he's like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it because you know what? Why not? Nobody would ever know, right? Hey, Jared, edit this out because I don't want to incriminate myself for anything that happens in the future, okay?
Okay. Nope.
I don't know, Frank. Do you think anything I was just kind of climbing on board from your guys' things, but I think you made good points. I think it's fine. I don't know, like...
Mentioning about build up, there was something that I had like a little I wanted it to become something, and it was when he climbed up the sail to the very top. I think this was the most interesting thing to me is that I wanted him to jump into the water really bad because that's what I would have done if I climbed up there. But no, he just climbed down.
You're such a free spirit, Frank.
To me. But that's what this movie. Like, when I think about it, like, because when I was watching it, I was like, yeah, this is just fine. But looking back on it, it's him climbing up and then just sliding back down and not jumping. I don't think Polanski jumped for it, you know?
You're saying he didn't take them back?
Be smart.
What?
Was that RJ?
I said, did he not take the metaphorical leap?
No.
No. And then I think I did notice something that could have made the scene where the boy's falling into the water. There's one shot, actually maybe a few shots. If they hadn't shown the young guy hanging on to the buoy, and if they just showed him, they just cut to whenever. Well, they wouldn't show him again, reintroduce him until after the husband had left. Right. I think that would have made for a more suspenseful scene there. But I don't know. They showed him hanging on, so that just kind of ruined any tension that could have been there.
Yeah, it's kind of odd because I mean, the whole thing about him hiding. It's like, what is his motivation for hiding in that sequence? Because is he afraid for his life, or is he now like trying to hide and wait for his opportunity to come back if the husband leaves? Because there's like that bit at the earlier, like when he kind of knows the husband's going to ask him to come onto the boat, and he says that, but you don't know how much of it is like him guessing, like him, because like even though it's like, yeah, he knows that this guy's better at him than like a lot of things because he's older and just had more time to get good at those things. He also has a good idea of like how he's going to act in all these situations, and so maybe he's like waiting for his opportunity to strike. But
Jared?
but to what end?
To what end? Indeed.
You know
And
what
then when he does strike, it doesn't show.
That's right. They just cut away. It's like, what is this? Okay, so the movie that I told RJ that he should watch, because there is an American independent movie that's like, I guess, a remake of this called Catterskill Falls, set in the Catskill Mountains from 2001, but like you can't find it anywhere. And apparently Polanski had also been offered to make a English language remake with Henry Fonda, but he's like, what's the point? I already made a great movie. And there you go. He didn't make his Vanishing, I guess. But there is a movie that I think about a lot in reference to Knife in the Water that I think is a much better movie, even though it's like, I mean, it's a dumb movie. But Dead Calm, starring Sam Neill, Nicole Kidman, and Billy Zane. That movie is that's a thriller and is super slick from 1989. It's Australian, but the opening of this movie is awesome. And Billy Zane, he's like kind of like the hitchhiker, I guess. But yeah, that movie is awesome. Everyone should check out Dead Calm.
Billy Zane plays the wife, you said?
Yes.
Nice. Yes, I would have watched that too. It seems like it's unaccessible and unattainable even.
Unattainable?
Even by any legal means.
Damn.
Yeah, James Cameron knows.
How about that dude's log walking skills, though? How do you think we would fare?
I think I would be fine. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, you just dance along.
I'm super athletic, so.
Yeah, it shows.
Yep. I don't know if you know this, Jarrett, but when I was in grade 8, I got most valuable player of my football team.
Yeah.
So, you ever do the Pharaoh to flex your muscles a little bit? Yeah, I'd be okay. Frank seems like he'd be okay too. But what about you, Jared? Do you think you could walk on those logs?
I'd be dead. I'd be drowning underneath those logs.
It's fine. The podcast.
I think if was it Robin Williams who did it in
Insomnia?
Was it the Null? Yeah, was it he was running across the logs?
Sure was.
It's been a while since I've seen it. So if Robin Williams could do it, you could probably do it.
Oof, I don't know.
Robin Williams was pretty fit too.
Yeah, you just can't doubt yourself. You just gotta go. Because if you start looking down, then you're gonna
fucked. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, you boys want to hear about who hates Knife in the Water?
I don't know, Frank. Do you want to hear about some bad dudes?
I'll say sure, just because RJ usually says no. Okay. So I'll grant you this one wish of yours, Jarrett.
Okay.
I say
Thank
yes.
you. Thank you, Frank. First up, we have Darcy, 1 star. Nothing I haven't seen before. Reminiscent of Lifeboat. What? What, RJ?
No, you're like, nothing I haven't seen before. And I just said, what? What do you mean?
Reminiscent of Lifeboat, Niagara, Leave Her to Heaven, The Talented Mr. Ripley, and The Lighthouse with a non-diegetic taxi driver score.
What? What are you talking about, person? They gave Funny Games 5 stars, which unequivocally is probably the worst movie. Am I right, Jarrett?
Probably not.
Probably the worst movie. They just watched all the Decalogues, so maybe they're listening to this podcast. But they just gave Hotel Monterey a 0.5 star, which is a film that I've seen, Jarrett, from the Eclipse series. You know about Chantal Ackerman?
I know about her.
Oh, they just gave the Lighthouse 0.5 star, Jarrett.
Oh my God.
Jubilee a 0.5 star. That seems fine.
That's fine.
Dune 0.5 star. Silent, Aguirre Wrath of God 0.5 star.
Oh Jesus Christ.
Throne of Blood 0.5 star.
Oh,
Wild at Heart, Chimes at Midnight.
Get the fuck out of here, Darcy.
Whoever recommended Letterboxd to Darcy should apologize, I think.
No.
Let's see. Their bio just says 2 stars.
Oh,
I don't know what that means.
Exactly.
I don't know.
All right. Next up, we have Alex Proft.
Sure, we do.
1 star. absolutely fucking mind-numbing. Tension my ass.
I mean, he's not totally wrong. Hey, guess what? One of Alex Prost's favorite movies is Funny Games.
What?
The remake.
Oh, well, I mean, they're the same movie, so.
They are the same movie. Oh, get fucked. 5 stars to Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Get out of here. Jason X, 5 stars. Leprechaun 2, 5 stars. Funny Games, the original, and Funny Games, the remake, 5 stars. And this person and the last person both gave The Room 5 stars, which I know is ironic. But at the same time, it's like, don't just be whipping out 5 stars for irony's sake, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You know, Jer? You know what I mean, Jer? He doesn't know.
Finally, Ben Lott, 1 star.
Okay.
This movie is like 90 minutes straight of 2 men having a penis measuring contest. That kind of thing is hard enough to watch in person, but I certainly don't want to sit through it on film. There isn't really logic to how people behave in Knife in the Water, and the blandness of all the things they do is hard to watch. When it got to the point of watching 3 grown-ups playing a game of pick-up sticks, I was about ready to throw in the towel. Then a few things happened in the climax that almost approached real drama, but it simply does nothing for me. I was so zoned out and bored at that point, I was ready for it all to end. The performances matched the blandness of the story and had nothing of interest for me. I was not invested in the relationships between these people who all seem to barely tolerate each other, and the movie depends on you caring about them at least to some degree. Even as an exploration of how men measure their masculinity and maturity, Knife in the Water failed for me because the characters were drawn so poorly, they didn't seem like a proper representation of actual human behavior. I would not recommend this movie to anyone.
You know what I wouldn't recommend?
It's almost like Ben Lott slammed that can down at the end of his statement.
You know what I wouldn't recommend to anyone, Jarrett? Ben Lott. He says that he's interested in escapism in movies. You see a lot of sci-fi and action movies in his favorites. He tends to hate the artsy-fartsy nonsense some critics love. And he doesn't like horror. Being scared is not his idea of fun. So Ben Lott gives 5 stars to Criterion movies, Marvel movies, and Star Wars movies.
Mm-hmm.
Ben Lott also gives half stars to movies like The Tree of Life, Primer, Boogie Nights, Stalker, Koyunsakwatsi, The English Patient, Jarrett's favorite movie, Batman v Superman, Frank's favorite movie, Brain Dead, The Holy Mountain, Itu Mambatambian, Once Upon a Time in America, Mulholland Drive, a half a star, Jarrett.
Mulholland Drive.
Mulholland Drive, a half a star. So I don't know. Man. I don't know. Do you think anyone who we give this treatment has listened to the podcast before, just like unintentionally? And
haven't discovered it yet. Maybe they probably have given up long before they get to the end when we tease them out.
Likely.
I'll say something about this last one made me realize that even though I wasn't very invested in the characters, I did stay to watch the movie, and I didn't ever feel like giving up. So that's a good mark, which I didn't say earlier. But yeah, I was, even though I didn't like the characters, I was watching.
I agree with you completely. And even more contrary to this person, I thought the fiddlestick scene was probably one of the better scenes in the movie. Because they were actually just talking to each other, which I liked.
Well, that was and that was like the downgrade part too, where like kind of like they're like they've had a bunch of drama and rain and stuff like that. Now they're just cooling to their heels and acting like regular human beings.
Actually, the scene about the scene with the girl singing and then him saying a poem that was pretty good. But also, I just remembered while I was watching the movie the whole time I was wondering, I was like, I wonder how old this actress is. Because she looks older, like she looks, but at the same time, I don't know how to explain it. She had like she looked like she could be young, but she had older qualities to her. I feel like
I think that was intentional though with her hair and makeup styles, because there's points where she looks older than she is, and then as the movie progresses, as she like is hanging out with the younger man more, you actually realize how much younger she is and more dynamic.
Yeah, she takes her glasses off. She undoes her hair, lets it loose. Yeah.
Can I ask you guys a question? Was it the same? Was it the same lady talking the whole time? The same lady acting, or was it two different actresses?
It's impossible to say.
Impossible to say. But I am with you because at the start I was like, this lady's really old, and then after she goes for a swim, gets her makeup and glasses off, I was like, hey, who's this babe? you know what I mean? They don't know. Whatever. That's okay. That's all right.
So, we got any final thoughts here on this knife in the water? Should it have stayed in the water?
What do you think, Frank? You're the big ride boy. Let's hear it.
I think it'll stay in the water, but it can float to the surface if it ever feels like. I don't know what that means, but that's what I said. So
some buoyancy.
Yeah.
I think that's tough but fair. What about you, Jared? Do you have any last words on Knife in the Water?
No.
Here's some last words for you. What did Polanski do again? Was he a raper, or what did he do?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Now you ask that question? Oh. Well, you can check out a documentary called Wanted and Desired.
Okay.
You can find out about him and what he did in a jacuzzi with a 13 or 14-year-old girl.
Okay, my last question would be: was it like a Woody Allen situation, or was it?
No, it wasn't like a Woody Allen situation. There was also, I believe, sodomy was brought up, but was it in like the classical sense, or I don't know.
Time will tell.
Yep.
Time will tell. Big if true, I guess.
After the break, RJ is going to go to Wikipedia and learn about what's the deal with Roman Polanski.
Who's this Roman Polanski guy? He sounds crazy. What's his deal?